All right. Let's start this thing up. Fucking well.
Well.
If it isn't Jesse Lubbers.
That's me.
Jesus Christ, dude. First of all, thanks for doing this. I can't believe we haven't done this.
I can't believe I agreed to it.
I know.
I think I did this on a whim, or it was your birthday maybe.
Yeah.
And then I was like, maybe they'll just forget.
When Cass told me you wanted to do it, I was like, he doesn't want to do it. He will do it. But I don't think he wants to. And she's like, no, he wants to. And I was like, all right, whatever. I'll believe it.
I want to. I wanted to leading up to it. I will be happy I did it later on.
Yeah.
But the before and after is.
I mean, I tried getting my dad on here for 3 years. I was like, hey, you want to be episode 50? He's like, yeah, sure. Then episode 100 comes around. Episode 150, I think we had him on episode 201. And now we're at episode 249. Here with my cousin, my best friend, closest thing I've ever had to a brother, Jesse Lubbers. Maybe I'm the closest thing you've had to a brother in a way, too.
That may be true. It is interesting how what family means, and you give what you get. So
yeah.
I would consider you my brother.
Yeah, I think we got really lucky in that we grew up down the street from each other. We're a grade apart, and your parents had already raised 2 upstanding citizens, and you were like the rascal of the bunch. So like we just got to spend a lot of time together, like ridiculous amounts of time.
My parents, they were like, we did the hard work. We raised 2 kids. This third one, who else would like to raise this child?
Yeah.
Any takers.
Yeah.
Grandmas, sisters. So ended up at your house. I spent summers in Puerto Rico and did everything besides spend time with my parents growing up.
Yeah. Which was, I mean, it worked out great. It worked out great for us. Even coming down here, even when I would come down here and spend the night and whatever, it didn't feel like parents were around.
No. I just wonder what those conversations were like. Like, hey, we're going to sleep over at Jesse's. Does anybody check? Is Jesse's parents home?
Yeah, exactly.
Do my parents know that there's 5 kids sleeping in the back? Probably not.
Oh, man.
Because it's not like there was like a family dinner and there was like a head count of like, oh, kids are coming over.
Yeah,
it's like,
Was there dinner at all?
No. I can't think of a time Sean ate dinner with my family.
No. You ate dinner with my family a million times, but I've eaten a lot of meals down here, but it's always like a ziti and meatball spread, like at a party or whatever. But I always wondered, I'm like, what does Jesse eat? I go over there for a sleepover, and the only thing in the fridge is like 3 cans of Miller Lite and like frozen Stromboli, maybe some Fruity Pebbles or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it would stress me out. You know, and I'm not even like a big eater or whatever, but I'd be like, what the fuck? What are we going to eat? What are we doing tonight?
I guess the best is when we had parties, there was leftovers for a few days, and then I would just go to a grandma's or your house, and Jack would make some pork chops or something like that.
The cherry on top of there being no food or anything to drink is your water supply growing up was from the brook. Your dad just dropped a pump in the brook.
Yeah.
And it fed into the house, and like you couldn't drink that water. Like even in a moment of desperation, you really don't want to drink that water.
I guess we could have not told people that's what was happening, but it was probably better or funnier to tell people and have them question it. Like, I guess I'm just not going to drink anything because the iced tea is made with, or Crystal Light, whatever my mom was drinking at the time. That was made with the brook water.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And you'd go to get in the shower, and you'd like turn on the shower, and it'd be like sand would come out.
Yeah, there's always sand in the shower and sand in the clothes when you got it out of the dryer.
Yeah, I mean, like growing up down here must have felt like kind of like, I don't know, kind of how I think about camping or whatever, 1 bathroom for 5 people, there was always a septic, like it feel like the septic was an issue.
Yeah. I feel like that happened a lot when I was younger, but now that I own this house, I'm just like, when do I have to worry about this?
Yeah.
But maybe I was the problem, like flushing things down the toilet. I'm not sure. But.
Definitely.
Didn't you guys have goats and stuff too? And ferrets and...
Yeah, there was a wide array of animals growing up.
Peacocks?
They're all buried around here,
Were you guys... I feel like Sean has so many stories about, not being able to sleep at your house because he always thought there was like a ferret in his bed.
There was.
Yeah, like it was interesting. I don't know the rationale. I don't know what my parents talked about before they got an animal. Like, it's like all of a sudden one day 3 goats come in the house, right?
Yeah.
And there's 3 of us, so each son gets a goat, I guess, and we get to name it. Did that happen that day? My dad sees 3 goats and is like, I'm just going to buy some goats.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, or did my parents like sit there in the spring and like, you know what? I think we should, buy some goats. I think it'll be good for the kids. Like, I don't think these conversations were happening because I think the goats came into the house and my dad's like, wait, where are these goats going to sleep? And then I think we had this like old, like dog house that I think we made 3 goats sleep in. That was probably like a 2x3 for the first night. And then we bought some fencing and put around my sandbox, and the goats just took over my childhood sandbox, and that's where they were. And then eventually built something bigger. But I was like, I think my dad just came home one day with something.
Spur of the moment.
Like all of a sudden a pig is in the house. And I was like,
Yeah.
and then they would have a pig, and then they would just still leave. Like they would disappear. And I remember we had that party one time, and there was Boris the pig was like running around the party. I was like, did my parents give me directions what to do with this pig? Like there was just a pig in the house. I don't know where he was supposed to be.
When I think about it, actually, because we always talk about the mistakes our parents made and how like crazy our upbringing was and everything, but then it's like the way that you guys were raised like made you really adaptable. Like I don't know, it made you smarter. There wasn't a lot of explanation, It's just like
no explanation. Yeah, it's like Maria always says I have a lot of patience because I think like situations arise and you kind of just have to deal with them. You can't overreact to them, and I just learned to go with the flow.
Yeah.
Like goats are in the house. I guess we now have goats. My parents, they would just always come home with a dog, like a new dog. Like, no, Jesse, would you like to have a dog, or what dog would you like to get? And like maybe go to the pet store or a breeder or whatever. And they would just come home. My dad's like, oh, we got this Louie. I was in St. Louis and there was a dog, and I now have a dog named Louie. I was like, I hated that. But it was just always like, a little stress, but like, what can you do? You just have to deal with it.
you just go with the flow. I remember you guys put up an electric fence. That was an interesting era of being down here, the electric fence era.
Well, it's like the ripple effect of having a goat is they get bigger and bigger, and then we got more goats, and then they take over half the property, and they were like, okay, well, we don't want them jumping in the pool, or like the neighbors we'd get called from the neighbors that there was a goat somewhere else, so we surround the fence or the property with this electric fence, which was more of a hazard to us.
Of
I think
course.
Goats were way smarter than me and my friends.
Yeah.
There's this electric fence that I had a few run-ins with, and I always lost.
Oh yeah, I remember there was like a slush ice puddle. I was walking by and like slipped, and you grabbed the electric. Yeah. You had a cattle prod that I literally saw cricket stick in the side of you and hit you with, and you went down, man.
Well, that was actually Jamie.
Oh,
Jamie
yeah,
did that.
Okay, that was
Christopher that's not that brother.
Yeah.
Jamie's the one that would stick me with a cattle prod.
Yeah.
But
and he'd be proud of it to this day, probably.
Yes,
Yeah.
but I think my dad hit him even harder after that with the cattle prod. So.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. He's like, okay, yeah, all right. That's it's permissible, but you're gonna get yours now.
Yeah.
We should talk about Bob Lubbers, but before we even get into our shit. Your dad really paved the way. Like, I mean, he's an old school wild man. Like, I don't even know if they make them like that anymore. I don't know how a person could become like that now.
He took full advantage of the era of there not being
cameras.
He's
really a man of the times, I would say.
I would say, The think of the spectrum of Bob Lubbers. There is is there a guy more about stealing and taking things that aren't his, but then also maybe the most trustworthy man that
generous.
And generous.
The most generous.
I'm not going to call him Robin Hood, but then, like his out wild side, but then you see him as Uncle Bob, and he's the most compassionate person with everybody. But
has sat with Caitlin more than anyone I can think of, and just played Connect 4 with her, and she still cherishes that stuff, Yeah, extremely generous, but also could be scary,
Yeah.
There's the duality of your dad was kind of wild.
Yeah. I mean, the amount I talk about my upbringing and my parents being somewhat absent, and then because that was the time that they wanted together. Like they were very
in
love and focused on spending time together.
Yeah.
But then on other times, his generosity with this time of helping everybody with every project, whether he knew what he was doing or not, he may break. I think he broke your guys' heating system in your house or something like that.
Oh, I woke up one morning at my parents' house to the smell of burning plastic, and I'm like, what the fuck? I wake up and I go to turn on the light. The light won't go on. him and my dad were messing around up in the wiring and fucking fried my computer, my TV, everything. And I was like, Bob, what the fuck? I can't get it. He said, let me take care of it. He just took everything that fried out and returned it to me like 3 days later, all fixed. I don't even know where he could have taken it or what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, he would be the guy that everyone would call. Grandma, my parents, you name it. Anybody that needed anything would call your dad. You know, he was born, raised in the Bronx, and then spent, I don't know what age, started really spending a lot more time up here. We're like an hour and a half north of the city.
Yeah, hopefully nobody in my family watches this because I'll probably have it all wrong. But yeah, it was like his teenage years, started spending the summers up here with his grandmother, my great-grandmother, who lived down the street from my mother's side of the family. And so, yeah, it was his teen years, this coming up here, and, you know, basically moved up or pursued my mother and, you know, just after high school, started working. They were living in the Bronx for a couple of years before they bought this property. You know, a place where they used to go hang out and campfires and smash the windows of the shack that was here.
So they bought the shack.
Yeah, because they wanted to move close to family, and you know the little village was just developing, and this was on the outskirts, kind of a nice little property, and they decided to wing it out here. Like you said, it's a mile away from suburbia, or like a little bit suburban area, and like it feels like you're in the middle of nowhere.
You can't see anyone else. You can't hear anyone else back here. It's kind of wild. We've had so many adventures, but to think that maybe we'll get a shot of the house to insert here or whatever, but to think that this started as like a living room shack, and your parent, it was like their whole life. It was a project. It was like always, you know.
Yeah. And it was always, my mom tells me when I was thinking about moving back here, she's like, this was never your dad's dream home, which is interesting for me to think about. Like, he wanted to get something as like a starter home and then go do something else was the plan. But then little by little built on, and, you know, was basically still completing projects, you know, to the day he died. So.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, no, when you walked me through it the house when I first met you, it was like, oh, this is where Jesse Cricket and Jamie all slept in this like bedroom that was like this big.
That's like what, 8 by 8? It's like smaller than a prison cell, and the ceilings are low.
Yeah, the ceilings were low.
All three of you guys are in there.
And my dad loved skylights, dome light, and there was a dome in the middle that just leaked all the time. So there was like 3 of us in this prison cell, and it was carpeted walls. I don't know what I guess they just didn't want to buy paint. They just had some extra carpet. Carpeted the walls.
Yeah.
The ceiling was corkboard.
Yeah.
And this little bubble wasn't a real window. It was just a bubble that I don't know where he found it. This little dome, and it was in the middle of the room, always leaking.
Always generating heat too. You know what I mean? Like pretty crazy. I mean, I remember like in the summers I'd be so excited. I'd like get up in the morning and it's summer, and my mom would be like, okay, you know, ride your bike down to Jesse's. I'd show up down here at like 10:30 in the morning. I'm like, come in. I'm like, it's quiet as a mouse, and I'm like, everyone's still asleep. Like, to me, that was so far out because we're in like such a young family, you know, 4 kids all close in age, and like my parents were in the opposite stage of their parenting than yours.
Yeah,
you know, they were like on it, you know, driving us all over the fucking place. And I come down here and everyone's asleep at 10:30. I would sleep over here, and I could not believe like nobody would be up till like 11 o'clock in the morning. But I think about it, like your dad was commuting. Like I think about where he was commuting to, and I'm like, how exhausted this guy must have been just from that, you know.
Was there a point where you realized, like how much of a legend your dad was, like while he was alive or when you were a kid?
That's a good question, because obviously when he passed away, you felt it, but I think I always knew, and I didn't like to think about it because like sometimes I got like mad because he was Uncle Bobby.
Yeah.
Not like, you know, someone that you would say he's the best father in the world. I mean, I think he was a pretty great father, but like he was more known as this amazing guy at work, this amazing uncle and friends to everybody.
Yeah.
It just felt like my time with him was very short.
Yeah.
And so I could get mad at him growing up a lot and want to leave. I didn't see him as that until much later on, and then I like think about many regrets, And because I would mess with my parents later in life, and I started moving away, and then that's when they wanted to see me.
Yeah.
And so they would say, hey, Jesse, we're going to come visit you in Corning, New York, where I was living for a minute.
Yeah.
And I was like, actually, I'm going to be out of town. I was like, you guys can stay at the hotel, because I was like living at a hotel. And they actually took me up on it. And they stayed in my hotel and like had a great weekend in Corning, New York without me. And I just like left to go somewhere else. They did the same thing in Pittsburgh. They were like, hey, we're going to drive to Florida. We're going to take the long route and drive by Pittsburgh. We want to see your apartment and where you're living. And I was like, actually, I'm out of town. You can stay there, and you can ride this little gondola. And they did it. Like, they came all the way out there, had a great time.
You're like, oh, now you're interested in me?
Yeah.
I'm busy, bro.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess it was my way to get back, but now it's like a little bit of a regret
Yeah.
of like not getting to spend the time with them.
No, it was cute. I remember we were in Washington, D.C. once, like having a fucking insane blackout weekend. And like your parents were just there in the middle of it for a little bit. You know?
Yeah, like I was just hanging out with you guys. I don't even know how they knew I was in Washington.
Yeah.
I think I had driven from like Pittsburgh. And they're like, oh, we're going to Florida. Like, well, this
Stop by.
we'll buy you guys dinner.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
We'll take it.
That's when I spent probably the most time with my parents is this just died.
No.
What? Oh, wait, the power went out. I can pause and do it real quick.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I like it.
Cool. Well, technical difficulty. I don't know.
It's
maybe that was your dad stepping in.
Yeah, my dad, he's like, well, you have all this electrical stuff. Let me just step right in here and tell you how I wired this thing properly, so I always trip that breaker.
Oh, wow. Why don't let's tell the story of Lubber's Leap. That's a classic one.
Yeah, Lubber's Leap. Yeah, this was, I think I was like 1 or 2. Yeah, probably like Leo's age.
Yeah.
And from what I've been told, and I forget most things, we were coming home from a trip, camping or something like that, and we had one of those old vans, and coming down the Taconic, deciding to can't hold a bathroom break until he gets home. I don't know how far away we were at the time, and he decides to pull over, leave the wife and kids in the car on the side of the highway, take a piss, and which is it's interesting later on. He's never learned his lesson or never did learn his lesson, but pulls over to take a restroom break, and all these cars are going by, so he doesn't want to be showing off everything. So he decides to stand on this wall, and on the other side of the wall there was like this grassy area, and he decided to leap into that grassy area to not have to pee in front of everybody. And that was actually not a grassy area; it was the tops of trees, and he had quite a fall. I'm laughing now, but this was probably devastating to the family.
Holy
but
shit.
Fell, broke his back several spots, and never returned to the car. So I think my brother Christopher might have been looking for him because he might have heard him scream, and he had to get airlifted out of there, and go to the hospital. And he had 2 steel rods get put into his back. And they told him, you're never going to walk again. And this is when prime his life, like 32, 34, something like that. And 2 steel rods. These things, technology back then, there's probably like 1984 or 5, and somehow, worked through it. Nothing's gonna stop Bob Lubbers. That's like kind of his mentality.
He didn't have a choice.
I don't know if this formed that mentality or if he had it beforehand.
Yeah.
But nothing was gonna stop him, and he went on to live even more of a prosperous life.
Yeah.
Nothing. It was like, despite that, he was going to go do everything that he wanted to go do. And, that story repeated itself, obviously, in 2010, I think, when he got hurt again. And, another incident of just out at a job site and decided to walk out to cross the street, jaywalking Bob Lubber style. His rule was, they'll stop for me, type of city attitude. This is not something you should teach your kids.
Well, especially because his father died the same way.
Yeah, my grandfather died by getting hit by a car, but he just walked out on the highway or out into a road in Brooklyn and got rammed 60 miles an hour by an off-duty ambulance corps, volunteer ambulance thing or private ambulance thing. And again, shattered his knee, knocked him unconscious, internal bleeding in the skull. And
it didn't look good. That was
a bad day.
That was a bad month. You guys were great. You and your mom were like, it seemed like you guys were like the best you've ever been, and like something you just had to fucking be there for each other. It didn't seem sad.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of lying to my mother about my dad's health and making it seem more optimistic. I think my dad would have wanted me to do that.
Yeah.
And but everybody said he's a vegetable. He's dead. Just get your family here as soon as possible. And everybody was away, so we had to get my brothers back in town. But I don't know how he possibly pulled that one off. Recovering fully from that brain injury and that knee injury, besides the brain injury, which is just a miracle on miracles.
Yeah.
This leg injury, he literally shattered his knee, and they were like, yeah, he's gonna be a peg leg. And
Oh, wow.
they did this amazing surgery. The surgeons down there were amazing. I don't know how the hospital was a dump, but
Yeah.
the doctor down there was amazing. And then he had this drop foot situation from his recovery, but he didn't let it bother him. They were like, yeah, you're never going to be able to really walk. You can limp around. And then he's like, I don't care. And he just sat there with a rubber band just pulling his foot and was able to walk again.
Wow.
And live a couple more years.
Yeah. Well, he probably really survived for your mom. You know what I mean? That was like they're the classic couple of all classic couples. I appreciate it so much now that I feel like I'm in a couple like that.
Yeah.
Whereas this trumps all. Even if we had kids.
Yeah.
This is the thing.
That's probably why we're like, we're not gonna do the thing where we have kids, but at their age, it's probably like a little bit more expected.
Yeah.
And I guess there's a lot to be said for a choice to be together and finding the right person versus someone born into your life. I mean, I think it's a different bond.
Yeah.
Tighter in some ways, and others we have a book. I haven't read it. I read the Cliff Notes version of it about unconditional parenting and the kind of unconditional love that you have with a child, or that you want to have with a child. And that's something I'm very conscious of not having conditions to my love in any relationship. It's not like, Maria, if you act this way, then I'm not going to love you.
Yeah.
I think my parents are those unconditional love type people that I want in all my relationships. It's something to envy.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of work. And I saw my parents put in the work, and that was actually, it doesn't relate to the story directly, but it kind of does. We were out the other day at a park just playing with Leo, and Maria's she's like, I just don't understand. She's like, I love the way that you're trying to raise our child, but she's like, sometimes I can't watch it. And because I try to let Leo do whatever he pleases, as long as he's not bothering somebody else, really. And I just let him go out and cause a ruckus, get very close to injuring himself. But I'm always there, 10 steps away. Maybe I should be 5 steps away. I'm not sure. But she's just like, I can't watch it, but I love that you're doing that and just letting him kind of to live his life. And because I want to set him up for success.
Yeah.
I don't think my dad was consciously doing that to me and my brothers,
right.
to let us go do whatever we wanted. But I'm so afraid of being the opposite, because most kids try to overcompensate for the things they didn't get when they do their parenting, and they're like, my parents never did this, so I'm going to do it. But I was like, my dad did some really great things. I want to make sure I give Leo that same thing.
Those old videos, you had videos from the mid 80s, and it's so crazy. You're fucking in diapers, down in the brook. He's barely paying attention to you. Jamie and Cricket are climbing trees that you're like, geez, it's stressful to watch this footage. Yeah. And it's crazy.
I mean, Cass was just stressed just when you guys walked in.
No, yeah, because you have the bridge over the brook that has no railing.
And Leo's just...
He's walking 10 steps ahead of you, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to walk next to Leo if we're in this. I can't do this. Yeah. So I feel for Maria in that regard.
This was honestly, I couldn't have thought of a better fucking place to have for us to grow up, and just it was just a blank canvas to do whatever we wanted. There's trails, there's woods, there's all kinds of things to discover back here. To this day, all my dreams take place down here, and I can't figure out why beyond this has been the most consistent place in my life. We moved a lot. I didn't have a lot of time in any given place. So, yeah, I think a lot of my memories take place. I know this place like the back of my hand. So all of my dreams take place between here and the deli we would go to down there, Ron's. Was that what it's called?
It was Ron's time, yeah.
It's like a 1 mile radius of here is like seems to be where my dreamscape is. And it's very strange, and a lot of our adventures just keep playing out in that world. But you know, I think we were good kids for the most part. I feel awful about like playing frog baseball. You know what I mean?
There's some
cringe.
childhood things that cringe worthy. But you got to do it. You don't find like a good boundary in life unless you cross a line a few times.
Yeah.
And you know what it's like. Because if you live this little life like this where you've never done something you kind of regret and look back on and like cringe, you probably didn't live to the fullest extent.
Yeah.
And we did a lot of crazy things that could have left us injured, dead, friends dead.
Yeah.
Just stupid things. We all survived. I don't know how. But I think those are some of the best memories ever, and allowed me to kind of live a life of living a little bit further out than some people are comfortable with.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm trying to think of like when, like we talk about your dad being so legendary, and like my dad has similar qualities, you know, like a fuck up in a lot of ways, but like helped a lot of fucking people and still does. But like I'm like, when did we kind of become? Like, when did our story start? Like, I know we fucked around a lot and we did our thing, and like, I'm really glad that looking back, like, we didn't start drinking or smoking pot in our teens, or you know what I mean? And like, we were so kind of against that like when our friends, and I regret this too, like when our friends would start drinking, we'd cut them out. You know what I mean? It was just like a loss of innocence. It just felt like that was one thing I think both of our moms imparted on us. It's like, be young while you're young. Don't try to be older than you are. You know?
If they imparted it on us, I don't know how they did, but because I don't remember it being told to us, but like it was in me. And like what was the age? You know, I think I became conscious in high school.
Yeah.
And I started making some of my own decisions and things that are, I thought, like looking back on it, not drinking, but like going to the party where everybody's drinking.
Yeah.
And then I feel like I was known a little bit as the guy like, well, you know, take care of things. Like I would help prep for the party. I'd clean the party. Yeah. I'd probably hold people's hair back as they're vomiting. Yeah. Make sure people get home all right. Like for some reason I was worried about people and the really bad actors in high school that would take advantage of some people. And I remember having parties here when I didn't drink and you'd see those creepers. And, like, I was just conscious enough to say, like, we're keeping an eye on that guy. We're keeping him away from that girl that might have had too much to drink. Yeah. Maybe we shouldn't have given her something to drink, but okay.
That's what happens.
You know, we'll look out. And started making, I guess, evolving from there. But, you know, I think, like, I don't need to ask my parents I don't tell them about these things. That's when you're just kind of making your own decisions off in your life. And building a reputation, I guess.
I think that's when, like, because if I remember, like, man, it's so dorky to think of now, but it's kind of adorable. Like, we were as late as, like, maybe 14, 15 years old, like, excited to go sleep over grandma's for the weekend and, like, set up our Nintendo over at grandma's and play cards with her all weekend and stuff. And then my family moved down to Florida shortly after, and I feel like that's when I had an awakening. That's when you had an awakening, because I remember coming back, like, during high school, and, like, we went from just playing fucking Mario Kart, getting way too good at Mario Kart for years with just, like, we had 2 other friends, and that was it. You know, we had, like, 2 friends, and then we moved down to Florida. We started making more friends. I came back. All of a sudden, you were friends with everyone. You had a job at Lou's, the deli, and you started having parties. I think that's when the legend started to form a little bit.
Once you lose, you know, your best friend, and you guys really suck for leaving, but like it was probably the best thing for us because it opened up my world. And at the time, we had just started kind of tiptoeing into a group of people that I really didn't like.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
And I was like, why are we with these people? Yeah. And I made a decision, I think, in like 10th grade. I was like, I am cleaning house. I am not hanging out with these people anymore. Yeah. And I'm moving on to like another group of people that were maybe more interesting or more in line with my thinking at the time.
Much more hardcore. Like, we went from, you know, hanging around with the people that were getting perfect scores in the SATs and lining their life up perfectly, athletes like this and that, to like people that were barely making it through high school, people that were getting thrown in rehab. Yeah. You know, it just the fuck-ups of all fuck-ups. You know, we just ended up loving those guys. I think it had a lot to do with working at this punk rock deli, Lou's, where your brother Jamie was probably the first one of us to get a job there. Then you got in there as a beer and soda boy. You got me in there. We got Megan in there. And like it continued the tradition. But all of our friends came from there. Everyone at that deli was a punk rocker. We started getting into punk music probably middle of high school.
Yeah.
And that was a game changer. That was a big, I feel like for us, formed our values for years to come in a lot of ways. Like it gave us space to be wild, and it wasn't that wild, you know?
Yeah. And, the amount you learn by being around wild people.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know, it was just like I got to learn lessons kind of through other people. It was like, oh, yeah, I'm not going to do heroin. Doing, coke in the bathroom at this party, that seems stupid.
Even smoking pot did not look good. Nothing our friends were doing looked good.
Nothing looked good. But it was still, it was funny.
It was, oh, God, it was
it did not look like something I want to try on.
Yeah.
But... Yeah.
I think we prided ourselves a little bit on like having our shit together and not drinking. We weren't straight edge, but like it was just not time yet.
You had more creative pursuits, like I don't know. I feel like you guys were always up to something.
Throwing parties, prank calls, just like we were the entertainment. We were the ones that would like get the group of people together and make shit happen.
Yeah, I like Cass's comment of we were up to something, and because I think everybody knew it, and everybody kind of silently was like, what are they doing? Even though most of the time we actually weren't doing anything.
Yeah.
They're like, what are they up to? I don't trust them.
Yeah.
And I just like that mystique. Like Sean said, we're the straight guys in the group. Like we don't have mohawks, tattoos, leather jackets or anything like that. We're just at all these parties, and like, these guys are up to something. We can't have this.
And in a weird way, we were. It's like, it's crazy that we were like the biggest troublemakers, and we weren't doing any. That's probably why, because we had energy to spare and creativity to spare.
Yeah, and a mental awareness to get away with it.
Oh yeah, totally. We got away with everything.
Yeah.
Like I remember thinking that a lot of times. It's just like, is there any way to like get caught like doing the stuff we do and like stealing so much stuff and fucking with people and like.
It is very, very sad these days. I saw the news headline today was some stupid TikTok craze of stealing stuff. And this is exactly what I used to do. I would steal everything I can get my hands on, and I never wanted it or needed it. And I usually ended up just putting it somewhere as a joke, to like leave it somewhere.
Yeah.
People are going to these high schools and like stealing, tiles off the floor. Like,
oh, come on.
But they're doing it on TikTok, and I was like, you're going to get caught, right? Like, there's no way not to get caught. And I was just like, I don't know.
Amateurs.
Well, you guys were ushered in by, I think, the pro of all pros, and
Your
dad was the pro of all pros, from what I understand.
My dad
couldn't believe it.
Though we have another story about how we learned about the definition of an alibi. I think my dad always had a cover story, and there was always like, when I first saw him steal something, I think I was like in KB Toys. He was getting me something, and it required batteries. So he bought the toy, and the batteries were always sitting by the register. And as we were leaving, he just grabbed a bunch of batteries, threw them in the bag, and walked off.
Yeah.
And like did it kind of openly, and like I don't know if the cashier saw him or anything, but I saw him. I was like, I know that you're supposed to pay for those. And he's like, oh, they just left them next to the counter. I thought I needed them. I didn't know. And I was like, that's an interesting way to live life, of just like kind of like claiming ignorance, but it's kind of a planned ignorance. And like, when you go to the mobile mart and like steal wood or, those crates of sodas.
I remember being with him once, and he's just filling the trunk with Mountain Dews, cases of Mountain Dews, because they had an outside display.
He's like, oh, I thought these were free. And I was like, it's fascinating.
We're walking out of the mall once, and they have right outside of the store, like it had started raining, so they put out this display of umbrellas, and like he didn't even look at them, walked by and grabbed them all, and we just got in the car. Like, and I was uncomfortable. I was very uncomfortable with stealing. But like kind of seeing how he did it, and even like with his job, like he would bring home stuff, and you're like, whoa, what the fuck? And I remember helping with some of that.
Yeah.
Like we'd go down to his work, and he'd be like, hey guys, I'm gonna go grab something from the office, so fill the back of the car with these boxes, and we didn't know what we're doing. Talk about an alibi.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I told him to pick up my briefcase. I don't know what they're doing with these boxes. But, then he gets in the car, doesn't look at what we put in the trunk until we get home, and that's like everybody's Christmas present in the family,
For years to come.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
A little bit of Robin Hood there.
Yeah, he kind of showed us, not showed us the way, but showed us like you can do stuff like that. And then I remember our first, like you were probably stealing stuff before me, and I would help you, but I remember feeling like I wouldn't do it. And then KB Toys started leaving their fucking video games outside of the store.
Yeah.
And we just every week we would just go there and steal Sega Genesis games.
Yeah. I didn't even own a Sega Genesis game.
You did it for me.
And I just took everything, and I was like, oh, Sean has it. I guess I'll just give him all these games.
Yeah, man. Stealing shit. Man, does anything give you a rush in this life like that? Like, that's like, kleptomania is a real thing.
Oh, yeah. It's been a battle in adulthood not to do it, and probably one of the scared straight moments I had. I was in court for a speeding ticket. I've never really been caught for anything I've taken, but there was these kids my age coming in jumpsuits and handcuffs for some stupid little petty larceny thing. And the embarrassment, their families were there. They had to go talk to the judge and explain the stupidest thing that they've ever done to them. And I'm just like, yeah, I never want to do this. And that I was probably at the time I was 28 years old, and that's when I needed to learn this.
I don't know.
It went on way too long. But like starting to think of, do you want to be the guy in low HUD, local resident gets caught, blah, blah, blah. And I was like,
for dumb shit.
Dumb stuff.
And it's not like we never had the resources to get that stuff if we needed to or whatever.
It seems like it's more of a rush or something.
Oh, yeah, it was always
because heist.
Some of my favorite heists or taking of things was never to take it. And like sometimes I would just take it and put it somewhere else where they would never have it. Yeah. And I just thought it was funny that I could take it and they would have no idea.
Yeah.
And like I didn't really want it. I don't know. It's a very, I don't know. I don't know what void I was filling at the time. But that's one of these things I don't want to pass on. But there is something about confidence and presenting yourself in a way, like, because that was the thing. Like when you're doing, like, I would be the guy, like, because I found myself as the guy at the party helping.
Yeah. And
like, so I'm the guy that person that's hosting the party probably trusts the most. They'll be like, hey, can you go hide this somewhere? A bunch of people are about to show up. Yeah. Now I know what they have and what they want to hide. And now I was like, I don't know how to not take this.
I literally don't know how to not do this.
Yeah.
I have to be taught that.
Yeah. I want my son to be the guy that's helping at the party, but not have that itch. And I don't know what it is. Yeah, I mean, it's such a, we live a privileged life, and we were given anything we've ever wanted.
Yeah.
It's not, if we wanted that Sega Genesis game, likely our parents would have bought it for us.
Yeah.
And it is a little disturbing when you think about it. I wouldn't say it's cringeworthy, but like it is like, what were we thinking?
We weren't thinking. We probably should have just been drinking.
Well,
yeah.
It seems.
Yeah, we needed a thrill.
Yeah.
When you were drinking, though, that probably. I mean, some of the stories you've told me, Jesse, I don't even know if the statute of limitations is up or whatever. But
they are. I think I know which one you're going to talk about. But yeah.
But just mixing kleptomania with confidence and some drinks is probably
and adulthood. Some crazy shit.
Yeah, I remember waking up in your apartment on my phone Googling what is grand larceny, because like at what dollar threshold do I now face like a felony charge rather than a misdemeanor? And
dude,
I was like, okay, $500. All right, I think I might be in trouble.
Yeah. So, that was a wild night. We went to, I don't even know. We just went to a concert. It was at some fucking big venue. There's like probably 2,000 people in there, and it was just a shit show. Like, they didn't have their shit in order.
Yeah, that's like, as soon as you see that, it starts getting me thinking, okay, this place is a mess.
Yeah.
How do I take advantage? Whether it's getting free drinks, getting free people into the door, taking stuff, or just making the event go worse. Yeah. Because that would be funny. Losing power would be funny here. Like, how do we, like little things. This is how the mind works, and it's just, I don't know why that happened.
And we were in such cahoots about it, and I think that the night we're talking about, in a way, I kind of take responsibility, because like it was such a shit show and we were so drunk. I just walked backstage at this concert, And between bands, there was a woman about to go up to, like, introduce the next performer. And I just go up to her and I'm like, should I say my thing before you or after you? And she was like, she didn't know who I was, obviously. And she was like, before. Yeah, get up there now. And I just got up on stage in front of everyone. So we were already on one that night. I got up on stage and I was just like, hey, everyone's psyched. Just want to say happy birthday to our girl, Carrie. And, like, we're on stage and we get off and we're already have those chemicals flowing through you where you're like, we can't get caught.
Yeah. You guys are the 1986 Mets.
Yeah, totally. We were the 86 Mets of kleptos. And on our way out, there's, like, these photo booths. Like, oh, hop in. Like, this guy's trying to convince us. He comes up to us. He's like, oh, you guys want a photo? And we're like, yeah, but you're coming in there with us, you crazy motherfucker. And he's like, no, I can't. I'm working. And he's like, no, come on, get in here with us. And he's like, fuck it, I'll do it. And he puts his iPad on top of the photo booth and gets in there with us. We're taking these glorious pictures. And we come out, and Jesse's, like, 15 feet ahead of us walking out. And we just follow him. And on the way out, he's like, I took that guy's iPad.
These stories like that actually make me upset because I think, like, dude, that guy had to answer for this shit.
Yeah.
Like, he was in so much shit after that. Like, I feel so... I don't even like that story. I don't even think about that story because it upsets me so much.
Yeah, because that's the line.
Yes.
There was a few times, one time in particular, where I took from an individual, and that felt wrong, and I learned that lesson. That time, it was, like, from an individual, but kind of from a company, but, like, also, like, wrong.
He was getting fired.
Back in the day with Walmart and all those places where you used to go to, all those other big box stores, that was just pure fun.
Oh,
and just,
stealing from Blockbuster?
Oh, Blockbuster, yeah.
God, a serious case could have probably been brought against from the levels we took this. I had a fake Blockbuster card that was attached to a fake credit card.
Yeah.
Just went around to every Blockbuster that we could drive to and just rented things like a normal person would never return them.
But the line there, taken for Blockbuster, but some of the times just pretending to be someone you don't like and then renting things in their name was also quite hilarious. Because, I was like, yeah, that kid was a little bit of a bully in high school. So
we got him back.
Yeah. And then he's, like, sitting there having to figure out, like, how am I going to pay $80 for this
How come I can't
movie?
get a mortgage? My credit score is shot.
Well, I want to get into hearing a little bit about.
You know what was crazy about that iPad night? We got away with it. We get out into the streets and we're like, holy shit. And we go to some other place and we have a few more beers and we're walking back by the venue on our way back home. And, like, there's kind of a VIP party going on. And we went back in there.
Yeah, we went back in.
Yeah, with that iPad in your cargo pocket.
We're like, yeah, like, they're not going to question the people that are here still. Like, that thing's gone. Yeah. Like, whoever took it is likely gone. They're not looking, and they're not going to be frisking people 2 hours later.
They're definitely not coming back into this party, whoever.
Yeah.
The time the moment I realized you had a problem is you were you were telling us how you had gone to. We'll change some details, but, like, you were at this place where there was an event hall. Maybe you were
at a wedding.
At a wedding.
Definitely it was a wedding. I think I know what you're going to tell me. Yeah.
You should tell this story because I think it's hilarious. I think this is one of those moments you realize, like,
like, what am I doing? Like, I was at a friend's wedding in a random town in Pennsylvania, and I had a great time at the wedding. It was just wild. This was, like, in the height of my drinking days, probably.
Yeah.
And late at night, I found my way back to the venue. And nobody was there. I think I might have been looking for a drink. I'm not sure. But I was by myself. But everything was there from the hotel that had been making the event. Like microphones, speakers, like other electronic equipment, projectors.
DJ shit, lights.
And I just, like, took it all. And, like, everything I can take. And, like, first I would take something easy. Then I would, like, bring it up to the room. And then I'd come back down. Like, nobody's there yet. So I'll take another thing, take another load. And then, like, I'm sitting there, I was like, what the fuck am I going to do with all this stuff? Like, I don't have any need for a microphone and, like, a mixer or all this stuff. And I think I had ended up leaving it in the stairwell of the hotel when I checked out the next day.
Yeah, you told us you made, like, a hobo sack out of a tablecloth, and you just put everything in and tied it together and left it.
Just throwing everything on a tablecloth, and I threw it over the back. Oh, God, yeah. And I was just like, what am I doing? But, like, I was just so lonely and, like, bored. I don't know what, like, and like, I could have just went to sleep and been a normal person, but, like, then I had to go do this and, like, kind of wake up at, like, what the hell's wrong with me?
I think just, like, really none of us, anyone we knew, had found themselves or had any sense of who they were. So we were just kind of just doing whatever the most fun thing was, you know. I don't know. I don't remember like us like dreaming a lot about what our futures were going to be or what kind of jobs we were going to be or like even considering any of that. We were just like working at the deli and having fun and just getting drunk and I don't know, like just honestly having the most fun fucking like I can't imagine somebody having a more fun time than we did in our 20s.
Yeah.
It was insane.
I guess it's the pros and cons of not having a dream to look forward to or like a goal.
Yeah.
I feel like you had a little bit more of that, like
Wispy.
an idea of what you wanted to do and a passion.
Yeah.
I didn't have any of that, and I didn't really catch that for like another 10 years after high school. And so, yeah, you do a lot of crazy things, but then like, and you live a great life, but then like, where are you 10 years later? Like, maybe you're not as far into a goal as you want it to be, but I don't know. Like, I wouldn't trade any of that in at all. It is cringeworthy, but it is like life lessons and a path that I happily went down, I guess.
Do you remember how you started drinking?
Yeah.
Was I there?
No. You should have been. It was the last weekend before break from college. I don't know if it was my first year or my second year. And I was turning 21 later that year.
Yeah.
Or maybe I just, whatever. Turned 21 later that year, and I was invited to this frat party, and there was this girl there that I really liked, and I was like, I need to talk to her. You know, I'm going to leave college. We're going to be apart from the summer. I'm going to profess my love, and like, how do I do this? I need to get a little bit of courage.
Dutch courage, as they say.
Yeah, liquid courage. And so, you know, I think it was a Hawaiian-themed party. I have pictures from that night, and I decided to, first I started by fake drinking. So like there was like cocktails, and so I was just pouring fake cocktails and pretending I was drinking. But then I think by the end of the night, I was the guy at the party. There was always that tub of a mix of cocktails, some sort of juice, and I'm just drinking it at the end of the party, and like gulp, 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 and everybody's like chanting.
Oh shit! Your first time drinking.
Classic.
But yet I still. Did I end up talking? I might have talked to the girl later that night, but I ended up escorting 2 other girls home safely from this frat party because I saw them. I was like, they're my friends. I was like, I got to make sure they get home safely. So like, I walk them home and then I go back. And I think I did tell the girl I liked her, and she's like, "What am I supposed to do with that information?" I was like, "Okay, I guess this was a mistake." So
damn. Gnarly.
And then I came home that summer, and we were all just playing like Tetris in my bedroom. This is in college. Like there's like 6 or 7 kids in my room.
Yeah, tiny room.
And then I just said, "Hey," I was like, I did drink for the first time, and everybody's like, "What the hell? Why are we like? You got to drink!" And like everybody started pulling out beers.
Yeah.
Because I think you had started drinking earlier that
Probably
year.
around the same time. And the thing is, it's because all of our friends really reacted to both of us starting to drink because we were against it. We would make fun of them.
Yeah.
Like we would make fun of them constantly. I remember our friends drinking, and I'd make fun of them, smoking pot, and I would look down on them. Mushrooms, forget about it. The optics of what I thought mushrooms were compared to what they are.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, I'm never fucking doing that. What do you guys are insane.
I remember some party in like Shrub Oak. I don't want to name names, but there's 2 guys there that came there with like a bag of mushrooms, and they're like scooping in handfuls, like shoving them in their mouth, and they're just vomiting. Yeah. And I'm just like, yeah, that's something I don't really want to do.
Yeah. So by the time you and I got around to it, you know, it was a big deal because all our other friends have been drinking since they were like fucking 15 years old. And my first time was Halloween. I just drank 140 up in the cemetery and was fucking hammered. 40s were a big part of it.
I think I was there for that.
Yeah. That was wild. You know, I pretty much didn't look back, and I don't think you did either. We both got a lot more hardcore about it.
Well, if you're going to drink, you got to be the best at it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, you know, we came up with all these, you know, 40s, malt liquor, trying everything, and like...
Weren't you a Four Loko man, too?
That was later.
That was a little bit later.
At first, we were 40s, and I don't know why, but probably they're cheap, and there's just something very regal about like sitting there with your beer, you're 40, and you finish one of those, and you're like, you finish 2 of those, you're fucking nice.
Yeah.
Finish 3 of those, which that was more Jesse's move. I don't think I could. I'm like fucking blacked out after that. But we did Edward 40 hands
for my 21st birthday party.
Yeah.
Hosted by my parents.
Yeah.
We were doing Edward 40 hands, and I was like, this is fascinating that my oldest brother was here. His friends were here.
Yeah.
They're 31
Yeah.
at the time, and I was like, I think it's really funny that they're coming over to drink with us, and
with 40s taped to our hands.
Yeah.
What a fucking night. Oh my God.
Your parents in particular must have been very excited when you started to party.
yeah, they had asked me to drink like on vacations, or like, oh, take a shot of this, ha ha ha, and like, or offering me beers, and like, again, it was like I was angry at them, and so probably drinking was one of those triggers for me. Is like, I don't want to be, because like my parents, when they drank, they were really loud. Sometimes very like they would talk over each other. It was very, like, and then I would
up all night. It was insane.
And I was just like, I don't want to be like that.
Yeah.
I became exactly like that.
Same thing with my dad. I'm like, drugs, forget about it. Look at I was so angry with him that I'd never tried anything, and then now I love drugs. Not his. He likes shit that fucks you up. I like stuff that seems to make you smarter and more spiritual. But
yeah.
Us starting to drink was hilarious. And then, man, I'll never forget one night I'm at you're up at school in Oneonta. I'm at bowling league, because we're dorks and we were always in bowling leagues and on bowling teams and dart teams and stuff. And I was at bowling, and someone called me up and they were like, Jesse's in the hospital. And I was like, what? And it was a crazy snowstorm, and I had my Mustang, and I just ran out to the parking lot, and I was like, I'm driving up to Oneonta, and I couldn't get out of the parking lot. My wheels just were spinning, and I had to leave my car there. So it was a tense night, and you were supposed to come home the next night and work with me at Lou's, the overnight shift.
Yeah.
Like, it must have been another last day of the semester type of situation.
Yeah.
You want to tell this story?
Those are always the rough ones, when you're just about to get out of there.
Yeah.
And you want to celebrate a little bit more than you can handle.
Yeah.
No, it's just
God, this is hilarious.
Pinnacle of drinking, that's when I started messing around with Jägermeister and, mixing, malt liquor and liquor and, doing malt liquor at the end of the night led to me, basically it was, Blizzard and Oneonta taking finals, and I had passed, or I'd taken the hardest final that I've ever taken and ever would take in college, and I was confident that I had passed, and that meant that I was going to graduate on time, and it was a huge relief. And this exam was at 8 in the morning. So I think we get out at like 10, and me and all the kids in the class were like, we need to go celebrate. That was a hard class. Let's go down to the Oast, the old Spanish tavern.
This is in Oneonta.
In Oneonta, yeah. And I believe it's still there. I saw it when I drove by. And we just start having a few beers. Starts off simply as that. A few people start leaving after that. Drinking beers at 11 o'clock in a college town is not that abnormal. And kept on drinking, and then, had not eaten at all. That was the other thing that went into it. And then one guy says, hey, I'm having a party later. You should stop on by. I was like, absolutely. So, a couple hours go by, I walk over to the party. I still had another final the next morning, which was the highlight of the story.
Oh, yeah.
And at the party, he's like, we can't stay up that late. We got this map and field geology exam tomorrow. I was like, dude, that's going to be the easiest exam we have in our college careers. He's like, I don't know. He's like, we have to do all this, you have to show up with protractors and all these different colored pencils and rulers and really make a map. Like you're looking at, cartography maps and whatever. And I was like, hey, how about this? We party tonight, get up early tomorrow. I'll help you study. Totally easy. And we're playing beer pong, having a great time. And the last thing I remember was suggesting we were out of beer, and he had Jägermeister in the fridge or in the freezer, and I said, why don't we play Jaeger pong?
Oh, I don't even know if I know this part of that.
And so we fill up all the cups. That's the last I remember. Who knows who won or lost that
pouring
game. I think we all lost that game. And so, I lived right around the block from this kid, and so I left, and apparently this is all the details of the story from here on out were told to me. The kid saw me leave in the blizzard and saw me take a wrong turn leaving his pathway. So I made a right and a right where I should have made a left and a left. And I ended up on a street I didn't know, and apparently that's where the cops found me, or
a couple.
No, a guy drove by and called the police saying that they saw a dead body in a snow embankment.
Jesus.
And the cops show up. Apparently, I was passed out in a snowbank near where snowplows go by.
Also, knowing Jesse, no hat, no gloves, probably not even a jacket.
Probably not.
Like you're dressed right now.
Probably. And that's when the cops found me, and they, wake me up, and they started asking me some questions, and they said, hey, where do you live, blah, blah, blah. And they were trying to get me home. They were treating me well, and apparently I was not talking to them, and I start trying to somewhat attack them. The ticket officially says flailing my arms at an officer. Still got that ticket in my books here.
Oh, that's great.
And I apparently pushed them off, ran, and I ran behind a house, and everybody assumed that's where I live, or the one cop did, but the other cop said, I'm going to go check on him to make sure he got home all right. So the guy follows my tracks behind this house. Apparently, he saw me face down in, like, fresh powdery snow, and he pulled me up, and I was, like not being able to breathe face down in, like, this heavy snow.
Oh, God.
And so that's when he decided to take me in, thankfully, because I was just not talking. They threw me in a jail cell, apparently, and vomit ensued, and
you probably had hypothermia.
Well, yeah.
They probably should have taken you right to the hospital.
Well, it's a college town, so cops don't have a lot of sympathy for over drinkers, and the hospitals really don't want just, like, drunk kids coming in there, right? So somehow he got my phone number out of me during all this and called my parents, and I guess that's how everybody knew. And, like, you're at bowling. This is, like, early in the day.
Yeah.
Like, this is, like, not 2 a.m.
Yeah.
I had been drinking for 12 hours straight, but it was still, like, 9, 10 at night.
Yeah, that's when I got word at, like, 9:30.
Yeah. And so I was already in the jail cell, and my mom begged them to bring me to the hospital, and they finally did. And
really, your mom had to beg them?
Yeah.
Based on what they were saying, like
I was sitting there vomiting with chills, like with sopping wet clothes.
Yeah.
And the cops finally like, oh yeah, like this kid might be having a problem.
Yeah.
So they brought me there. I wake up the next morning, not knowing where the hell I am.
So you just woke up in the hospital?
Woke up in the hospital, nobody around me, and all this stuff is in me, and I started just pulling it out, kind of freaking out. I was like, I got to get out of here. At the time, I wore glasses, no glasses, so like everything's blurry. I'm just like, what is happening? And nurses come in, like, you need to stay here for the doctor. I'll pause there and go back. So apparently during that time, everybody was notified in the family. Everybody knows about this. My brother Jamie made it from Albany to Oneonta, an hour-long drive in this blizzard to come visit me in the hospital. Stayed with me that night, and then had to go to work in the morning and left while I was still unconscious.
So you never knew he was even there?
I never knew he was there until like days later. So I wake up. I was like, I got to get out of here, and I'm nude in one of these little
gowns.
And I was like, I guess where are my clothes? I go to the thing, and there's just a bag of soaking wet clothes with vomit in it. I was like, all right, put that down, and I was like, all right, I have a final exam like in a half hour. I got to get out of here.
Oh my God.
And I called my apartment, and this roommate that I was having an argument with at the time, she answers, and I was like, hey, is Paul there? She's like, no. I was like, is Tom there? She's like, no. She's like, Jesse, I know, like, you're in the hospital. Like, we've been worried about you. What do you need? And I was like, I need clothing and a ride.
I guess I could break this argument.
I guess I can break this argument. I hold grudges, Sean knows.
We're both really good.
And so she brought over a fresh pair of clothes and dropped me at the school. And like I said before, it's map and field geology. And so I needed, like, all these supplies. I had nothing. So I show up there, probably pale as a ghost with, things on there, no glasses. And the teacher's like, I come in late, and he's like, whoa, what happened? And I was like, I'm in the hospital. He's like, you don't need to take this exam today. I was like, no, I'm fine. And he's like, no, just like, what happened? I was like, I don't know. I think I just drank too much last night. I ended up in the hospital. Like, I had no idea what happened.
Yeah.
Because I'd still not pieced anything together. And at that point, he turned against me, obviously admitting that I was like, I took my really hard exam yesterday. This one was going to be easy, so I was drinking a lot last night. He was furious.
He's like, well.
And so he was pissed. He made me sit down, get this exam, and I couldn't do a thing with it because I didn't have anything.
Oh, man.
And I waited. The kid that we were drinking with the night before, he was in the exam laughing when I got in there. He was a little worried, he said, that I didn't show up initially. And after someone finished the exam, they gave me all of their stuff, and I took the exam and aced it. It was a very easy exam without glasses, just sitting there twiddling my thumbs for like an hour waiting for someone to finish. And Yeah, drove straight home.
Worked the overnight.
Worked the overnight shift with Sean, and still just trying to piece together what had happened that night.
That was a really kind of fun night at work because it wasn't busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the middle of the winter. It was like we were working 12 to 4 or something like that.
Probably like a Wednesday or Thursday night or something like that.
And you showed up and I was like, Jesse, it was crazy because really everyone was just so scared. Like it was just a scary moment. And I was like, damn. I was like, are you done drinking? And you were like, no, probably not. And I was like, all right, cool.
Just not Jaeger from the bottle.
Yeah, just not Jaeger from the bottle. Actually,
everyone
you
seems to have
didn't
to learn
drink
that lesson.
Jaeger for years after that. I feel like.
Yeah.
But I remember you. I remember you drinking it again.
Yeah.
But we were probably partying like 2 days later.
Yeah, it was a pretty wild night. I ended up calling the police officer to thank him. I got a disorderly conduct ticket and had to do community service, and it was really funny because in Oneonta there's like an good old boys club in the courthouse, and my punishment was 40 hours community service at the Elks Lodge doing their dishes, and all these guys are at the Elks. And then they just they're serving me shots as a joke, like doing dishes at the Elks Lodge. I was like, man, it's quite the punishment.
Yeah. No, this society really supports, out of control alcoholic stuff.
Yeah.
Anything else, you'd be behind bars. Like, if you were acting like that and you were on coke or crack or something like that.
Yeah. Let alone the color of my skin if I attacked a police officer.
I know. Well, that guy saved your fucking life, man.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking shit, man. That was a crazy one. But we kept it going. I remember it was probably that winter break. We went over to our friend's house. Like there's 2 people that I know of that were fucking kleptos beyond us, and they worked at the liquor store and literally stole everything.
Oh yeah.
They would steal the fucking lottery tickets. Like we scanned the lottery. We did our thing, but very low level compared to these guys would take the whole the sealed packets as they came in, scan them, activate them, and just take them home and find the winners and drive around collecting. And we went over to their house, and they had every liquor that you could possibly have. And I was like, I just started to proceed to take one shot of each one, and that was my night of like, how did I get home? I just woke up in my bed with a line of vomit, and I was just like, what the fuck happened? The last thing I remember is like sitting on these guys. Yo, alcohol's so fucking scary in that way. There's no other drug that's ever done anything like that to me.
Very, very scary stuff. And I do want to put in a disclaimer for my son, if he ever listens to this when he's like 20 years from now.
Yeah.
That story of how we both found alcohol later in life, you'd think it would make us a little bit smarter. No. And in some ways it did, but like really didn't. Because I always laughed at the kids freshman year of college that were blackout drunk, right away. They were so oppressed by their parents in Long Island and never were allowed to go out. Like we had so much freedom. But alcohol, everyone can fall victim. It's very deceptive of how it works and like what it does to you. It's very easy to go way overboard.
It's a tricky one, man. Barely anyone knows how to do it right when you think about it. If you really think about it.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to manage throughout your life. So, in a way, like for me, very much, I'm glad I got it all out of my system. Like I haven't drank in fucking 10 years. Like I'm glad I like got that out of my system because you seem to not struggle with hangovers, or maybe you just got used to them, or maybe you were good at like just faking it or whatever. But I would be fucked up for like 4 days after a night like that.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. And when I met Cass, we would use drinks as the excuse to fall in love with each other. But then, once we were fully in love, we're like, just started smoking pot and the drinking went out. But yeah, we've seen it fuck so many people's lives up. And, that's the gateway drug.
Do you know what I should equate it to? Because I was trying to think if there's like a fine line of where theoretically alcohol, you hit your perfect mark.
Oh, yeah.
But the problem with the latency of it hitting you, usually by the time you think you hit that mark, you have a party waiting to hit you in the face, and then you go way overboard. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about, because of our video game childhood, of Mario Golf, that little like thing back and forth, right?
And you have to hit it right in the middle.
Right in the middle. And it's like, when you do, absolutely perfect, but really
some of the best nights ever.
Some of the best nights ever, like where you don't black out and you feel loose and confident and all that ego
You're
stuff.
Funny, everything's good.
Man, Jesse, also, when I first met you, I was worried about you because we would go out to the bar and you would just be like, you'd be like falling asleep at
Oh
the
my
bar,
God,
standing
yeah,
up,
yeah.
like wasted. Like,
Well, that's when I started mixing hard work with alcohol. And I don't know how my dad did it because he worked way harder than I ever did. And I would go
There
to
was no
work.
Adderall or anything back then either. Like,
I would just work all week, drive straight down to Brooklyn, and start drinking. And I just was so sleep deprived that by like 11 o'clock, midnight, or I don't know, 1 or 2 or whatever, like I would just be sleeping standing up.
Yeah.
Like I was just so exhausted, but like wanting to get to that point of where I thought it was like perfect. And like, you know, they talk about alcohol and like being myopic, and I think that's like where you really like focus on something.
Yeah.
And like sometimes like a great conversation, you know, a great time, but like you kind of forget about everything else. Like, and thinking that you're funny, like,
Yeah.
sometimes you find out later on that you were not funny at all, and
You were
just kinda
offensive.
offensive and out of control. But I don't know. Yeah, those were sad days, and you know, I'm still a little bit on the sauce, so can't say it's behind me. But those types of nights, like where, you know, out too late and not remembering
Jesse
how I
would be
got
asleep
home.
at the bar at 11, and we'd still go to 4 more bars.
Yeah.
You know, Weekend at Bernie style. I remember once in Chicago, I've never seen anything like it. We walked from a venue, a punk show that we saw, and we wanted to go to this hot dog place, and Jesse was asleep walking.
I do remember
I've
that.
never seen anything like it. Fully eyes closed, just staying on the sidewalk, but like asleep, like, and walking. It was crazy. And you know, we got where it started to get fucking dangerous is like, well, for you right out of college, you got a job, so like you have a little bit of money. That's where it starts getting crazy. You have your money and your freedom, and we got Rangers season tickets, and just Jesse and I got these season tickets, and we bought a third seat for just like bringing motherfuckers. And so it's like fucking every week, twice a week, Jesse's down in the city, and we have an excuse to be fucking drinking and going crazy. And every weekend, you know, that's when I saw my friends the most in my life. I feel like is when I moved to Brooklyn. Every weekend, everyone would come down. We'd stay out all night doing karaoke. Such fun times, and like we made great friends, and like just had just like the best time. But it's hard to remember because we were overindulging a lot of the time, and then it's also hard to remember because there's nights where you're like, I can't remember that because it's so cringe. It's so I can't you know what I mean? It's so funny. I remember one night we were like after the next day I was like, this didn't happen. And I'm looking at Jesse and I'm like, Jesse's the only one not agreeing to this. We're gonna hear about this again someday. I don't even know. I'm hoping you don't remember what I'm talking about. It's a wild night that ended at my apartment with some people we didn't know. And,
I think I remember that.
and I was like, yo, this just can't. This night, this one officially, and we never pulled
Did we
that
meet
card.
these people on the way back to your apartment?
Literally,
Okay,
we were
like 2 blocks away.
We were like, hey, you come back with us, and it was just one of those nights where I remember my neighbors coming and pounding on the door. Like, my neighbors had never still, I've lived in the city 18 years. No one's ever confronted me besides that night. They're pounding on the door saying, what the fuck? You guys are blasting Queen. It's 5 a.m. And I remember being so scared. I told Colby, I was like, go answer the door and tell them you're just Airbnb-ing this place. And he answers the door. He's like, what? I'm trying to Airbnb this place. Who are you? But yeah, the next morning I was like, yo, this one, you know, and everyone agreed. And I look over at Jesse, and I kind of love that about Jesse. He's like, well, we'll see.
Because I do have some photos from that night.
That's what I'm thinking.
And they're so blurry. I think I looked at them not too long ago. I was like, you have no, like, the story is there, but like, who cares? Like,
oh yeah, no, I know. Well, at the time it seemed like very.
Well, it seems like the story's not there because it didn't happen.
Yeah, you've heard. You know, I've told you. But, you know, like the fucking countless nights like that SantaCon. Remember how fucking shitty we would get at SantaCon?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Yeah, the last one before we called it quits at SantaCon, I remember we lost you, and you just came into my apartment at like 5 a.m, one shoe off, completely barefoot, one Santa boot on, and like you just like passed out on the couch, and I like had no explanation for what was going on. And the next morning I was like, Jesse, where's your other thing? And you were like, I got off the subway and there was wet cement. And I thought it would be so fucking hilarious to have like a bare footprint in there. So I took off my boot and put it in there, and I don't even think you ever recovered this Santa boot or whatever. And it was just fucking just out of control. Like one of the heists that we pulled off that actually really helped us was we stole a video camera. That like helped me become a filmmaker. Yeah, and
It's all because of me.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, look, that's one of those ones that like I feel bad about, but I don't, because we're at this out of control party that this girl threw, and she didn't know anyone there. Everything just like, we went there because it was out of control, and it was like, there's a million cars there. We go there, and she just had 3 brand new digital video cameras. Some rich girl, and her parents were out of town, and I see these like, you know, wannabe thug dudes in the kitchen, like eyeing them up and stuff. And I go and grab Jesse, and I'm like, look at this situation. These cameras aren't lasting through the night. Like, so look at the situation.
Yeah.
And Jesse just...
Well, do you know what we did? What I did and how I sleep at night is we took one of the 3.
Yeah.
And I hid the other ones so the other guys couldn't take them.
Yeah, that was great.
And so...
It was basically the cost of doing business with you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my cut. No, yeah.
I remember that one scared me because, like, the next day, one of our friends was like, holy shit, there was this party, and, like, this, like, something got stolen. And, you know, it's just like that feeling of, like, whoa, oh, my God. But, you know, my karma of that is I then filmed 4 years of, including Edward 40 Hands, everything we were doing at the deli, all the weird parties we went to, 4 years of, like, something that could have been a documentary about our fucking wild upbringing. That camera got stolen from my apartment, and all those tapes.
Yep.
So it's, you know,
It all works out.
It always does. And, like, you know, that could be one of the lessons people could take away from, like, us telling these wild stories. Is like, everything balanced out. It all balanced out.
Well, does Jesse feel that way? Maybe you feel that way.
For every fucking crazy memorable night, there's one where you almost die, you know.
I was the host of as many parties as I've been to, probably.
Yeah.
And the amount of things that got smashed, stolen, you know, the kids, the similar thugs, you know, using razor blades just to cut our lights on our bridge.
Yeah.
And, like, Christmas lights. And it was like, you know, like, that's annoying. But, you know, probably, you know, it all came back both ways. You know, maybe I'm ahead. I don't know. You know, lots of bad things happened. You know.
You guys say that you like will hold a grudge. Like, what did people do to you that like?
That's the harder thing to remember than you have the grudge. You know what isn't that a weird thing?
Well,
like, I remember
really,
who the grudges are against, but I'm like, what could they have done?
Most of it didn't matter. Most, yeah, none of them mattered, actually.
Small town shit.
It was more fun to prove that I didn't need this person in my life.
Yeah.
And it was very mean.
Yeah.
There was a few times where, like, it was very, very mean to do to some people. Notably early in, like, high school and early parts of college. And just cutting people out surgically out of your life.
Yeah.
And, you know, all of our friends going along with it and saying, hey, we're not going to go talk to that person.
Yeah.
And, like, that is very mean to do to somebody.
Yeah.
But, like, they crossed me, and, like, it was just some way for me to lash out at some love I didn't receive or something like that.
Right.
And I blew it out of proportion most of the time. And it was just, like, a way to flex these powers that I had of just time with me was valuable, and now you're not getting it.
And I think what made it worse is, like, I grew up in a similar kind of, like, lack of love, fucked up household, and we were encouraging this behavior in each other and backing each other up. If someone did something to me, you would go in on them. If someone did something to you, I would go in on them. And like, we were influential in our group of friends, so everyone would. You know? Definitely. But, you know, fucking with people that work at the deli and make your food is such a strange thing. Not to get into details about that, but, like, what a strange thing to do.
If you feel tempted to fuck with someone who makes your sandwiches, don't.
Yeah. God.
Yeah. Be complimentary.
And the funny thing is, like, no one that I can think of ever did anything on the level of the type of shit we would go to someone's party and do a stink bomb.
Yeah.
You know, like, which is hilarious.
When I started rolling around with you guys, like, Jesse would put stink bombs all over the place. it would be talking about, like, how do we turn up the heat? Or I'm like, what are we doing here?
Oh, but how funny is that?
It is pretty funny.
You know, one of the funniest, to me still, one of the funniest things we ever did was, you know, the night before Thanksgiving is this, every small town is like, the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving is like, especially in those first few years after college. It's like it's when everyone gets together at some bar. You're seeing people you haven't seen in a while, whatever. You know, and there was this one bar, the Stadium, and you could really pack it in there. And on the night before Thanksgiving, they would charge a cover because so many people would show up there. And we were smart. We were like, we're going to bring 48 beers and leave them in the car and just go out to the car and drink them and go in here or whatever. But we figured out where the fucking thermostat for the place was. And God, there was probably fucking 300-400 people in there. Pump the heat up all the way. And just watch everyone slowly but surely just like roast. And no one leaves. You know, no one...
And it's funny to you guys, even if you're sweating with them, because you're responsible
well, we know
for it.
why.
Yeah.
But you watch people slowly getting uncomfortable, not realizing it, and then maybe like they get like, do you think it's warm in here? Like, and then that feeds, you know, what we're trying to do.
Yeah,
like, it's just
people are talking about something we did.
Yeah, and they have no idea, and like they are figuring out a way to cope with it, even though it's ridiculous.
Everyone's wearing sweaters. They're all like,
because it's Thanksgiving. Yeah, everybody's wearing sweaters. Oh my gosh.
Well, and then to add insult to injury, you know, you don't even have to do the stink bomb. You just drop one in there. Someone's going to step on it. Yeah. And I love that because then you just go on with your night and then all of a sudden you smell something and you're like, oh, yeah, we did that a while ago.
Yeah.
And people stayed through it. And I remember that night, the funniest part of that night was like we were friends with the owner of that bar because we played in the dart league with him. And I'm talking to him and the smell is permeating. It's sweating hot in there. And he's like, I think a gas line broke or something under the bar. Like, something's going. Like, he couldn't figure out for the life of him what the fuck was going on. We would do that at people's houses. We did that to each other in hotels a million times.
But think about, so I think some of these creative pranks that we used to do, I learned a lot about engineering and science.
Yeah.
Like, in the bar, I realized, like, one stink bomb, you know, gets this area and it stays pretty stagnant or whatever. But it might be, like, so overpowering that, like, maybe they'll move. But maybe you do a couple of them, and then I found out that wind tunnel effect in the bar. If the front door was open and you open this back door by the bathrooms, the smell would just whip around the entire bar. And it was hilarious to watch a good plan go into effect.
Yeah. Well, you know, it was a really memorable one, Bushwick Country Club. I hope you remember this because we were pretty fucked up. We were at Bushwick Country Club, and it's like a sweaty summer night. It's probably like 12:30 in the morning. There's a million people in there, and Jesse comes out to me, and he's like, I found the power box for this place, and I swung the door open. You got to come in here and like fake push me towards it. I'm pretty sure I could cut the power to this place right now. And I was like, fuck yeah, we're definitely doing that. I go in there, I like fake push Jesse. He flies in, like no one's paying attention to us. He flies into this thing, puts his whole forearm against the power. Power shuts down. We drop a couple stink bombs, and it was just glorious to be standing out front of this bar with every single person that was in there.
I think we were at another party with stink bombs, and we led them to believe that their stove was leaking, and they evacuated the whole party.
Yeah. Oh, my God. We loved that. I mean, that's especially... It might have even been the same... No, it was a different party. We put one in the hinge of the bathroom door. So we're like, the next person that goes in the bathroom door is going to come out, and everyone's going to think that they took the gnarliest shit ever. And it worked. The guy that ended up doing it was just... It was fucking perfect. But it's so funny. It's like literally at that point, at that stage, we're just trying to entertain. It's an audience of one. I'm doing this for Jesse and he's doing this for me because our friends didn't even.
No, they had no idea what was going on.
They didn't know what was going on. And if they did, they would have stopped us or tried to. Or it wouldn't have been funny to them. But it was fucking hilarious to us.
And the times we were apart, it was for an audience of none. Like, I'd just be doing this at college for fun. And I couldn't tell these new friends of mine that I make every year the really messed up things I was doing because I was like, I don't know if they know that I do this kind of stuff, but I just sat back and just laughed. But I don't know.
Man.
Well, I think the time I really realized you guys were a dynamic duo that shouldn't be fucked with is we were at a bar and we were playing darts and you guys both went up and put your hand like this in front of the bullseye one at a time, and Sean, you had your hand like this, and Sean hit a bullseye, and then Sean put his hand up like that, and then you hit a bullseye, and I was like, these two fuckers, they got something. You know what I mean?
There's a little razzle-dazzle.
There's a little razzle-dazzle. Lawrence claims.
Bullseye! That's like, that's like a mixture of confidence, skill, and then like building a story and then proving it somehow. So like I was almost thinking of Catch Me If You Can, one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
And in that movie, I don't know what the real truth is, but at one scene where he passes the bar, and the movie is mostly talking about like how did he do it, and he's like, I fucking sat down, I studied, and I fucking passed the bar.
He didn't fake that one.
Yeah, like all the other stories we did was mostly, smoke, lies, whatever. But like every once in a while, you have to do something that's just actually impressive, and then everything else, the myth builds around it.
Oh, I mean, we got Cass. I mean, that was like me 6 months into knowing Cass, and like we're like, okay, we got her. And you have those videos too. Cass still pulls up those videos.
And
it's crazy.
And Cass probably wasn't there the night that I also did that with a friend, Tom Peterson, and I hit him right in the. He hit a bullseye between my fingers, and I hit him right in the finger, like dunk. And he had to. He was one like this, and it wasn't leaving his finger; it was in the bone. So
a little less razzle dazzle.
Yeah. There was no camera there, and there was no girls there, so maybe I just wasn't on my game. Maybe I missed. I don't know.
Maybe you don't like Tom as much as you like Sean.
We got to look out for each other.
You got to look out for. I'm no hate on Tom, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, we've
Sean's
always
your
looked out
brother.
for each other. I remember once Jesse called me from Oneonta, and this kid had fucked with him, and I didn't like this guy either. And Jesse calls me up, and I'm just going on with my life. I'm just working at the deli, whatever. And Jesse calls me up. He's like, this guy's live on the radio right now. Start pranking his show. Like, start hitting him hard. And I did. And it was fucking glorious. I nailed him. He couldn't get me off the air. It was just like one of those classic things. And he somehow fucking knew it was you, or you were behind it, or something, or you got confronted.
Yeah, because it's always like, I couldn't just listen to the show in the comfort of my own house.
Yeah.
So I was friends with the people that lived below him, and so I was playing his show, having everybody laughing at what you were doing.
Yeah.
Because I was in on it.
Yeah.
And his buddy lived above there, and the guy was at the studio, but his buddy's like, hey, there's a guy down there, Jesse Lubbers, and he's down there laughing it up about, this prank caller. And, he started putting it together. He's like, wait, I know him. He must be messing with me. So he thought it was me.
Yeah.
Because I'm just there, like, gloating in all of my glory of, like, how well an executed plan came together. I'm getting some guy from Florida to dial into a college radio show that he can't hear.
Yeah.
Just like, and I'm texting him, like, okay, they're accepting callers now, like, call now.
Yeah.
And like, any college host is like dying for anybody to call in.
Yeah.
And Sean had so much practice in prank calling.
Oh my God.
And it just worked like way too well.
Yeah.
Like, it seemed like we had thought about this for weeks. And like, that's most of our plans. Most of our plans that got pulled off without a hitch. Everybody's like, how long have you guys been planning? I was like, me and Sean never talked about it.
We just did it.
We just did it. And
Yeah.
Sean followed my lead, or I followed his.
Yeah, you have each other's back. When one of you calls, it's like.
Well, you had the perfect alibi because he confronts you, and you're like, I've been sitting here the whole time. How the fuck could I have done this?
Yeah.
And he was like, I got my eye on you. And this motherfucker is from our hometown. Comes walking in the deli one night while we're working.
Yeah.
And orders a sandwich, and I don't even want to fucking repeat. Like,
we
never did that. I never did that any other time. But
that was the only time I did it.
Yeah.
And I went far and away above whatever I've ever heard anybody doing to get to this guy.
Yeah.
And just knowing that he had to eat what was on that sandwich.
Yeah. That's the karma's corrected. It's all good, But
well, would you remember what we also did to him that was like totally a non-event that I thought was going to be funny?
Didn't we put dog shit in his car handle?
No, we spit on his door handle. We drove by his house. No, it was the same guy, but for a different incident.
Yeah, yeah.
Because we went to a party at his brother's house that was our age.
Yeah.
And he was like standing there as a bouncer, like not letting us in.
He's like, you guys aren't coming in.
You guys aren't coming in. And
I'm
we
like,
thought,
dude, we know you. What are you talking about? We're friends.
Yeah. And he was just an older kid with no friends of himself.
Yeah.
And we went to the neighbor's house, stole their propane tank off a grill, and then like drove by because I had my Jeep, I think.
Yeah.
And we like threw it from the Jeep into the yard, like hee hee.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that was actually like, what did we think was gonna happen there?
Nothing came of it.
Were you hoping for an explosion or something?
I don't know what we were hoping for. It was just really funny to steal someone's stuff and throw it in their yard.
It was always fun because Jesse had like the shittiest car. You can't imagine a car like how shitty this car was. So we just loved driving it anywhere. Drive through someone's yard, fucking drive. Oh, our friend just fucking spent all day sweeping up his leaves. Let's just drive through. that kind of shit, just fucking totally out of control and bored, and in a town that couldn't contain our energy. But like I will say, we worked at this deli and we took that really seriously. I think probably me, you, and Megan took it more seriously than anyone that had ever worked
Sean
there.
talks about how you guys made the best sandwiches that you could trust.
Oh, I would only get sandwiches from Jesse or Megan.
I put that on my resume. That's how I got my job.
Yeah.
Making the best sandwiches in town.
Yeah.
Took a lot of pride in that. And there were a few other people that took it very seriously, I think. Jeremy.
Oh, yeah.
Kev McGipsy for a stint.
Yes.
I shouldn't mention a lot of names, but people took
Chris
a lot
Rush.
of pride. I mean, Chris Rush. Because we were given so much authority and respect from the owner.
Yeah.
And most of us rewarded him handsomely.
Yeah.
We worked a lot of hours. I mean, he paid us pretty well.
Mm.
And, it was all about honesty and
Yeah.
integrity. And there was a few people that didn't follow that rule, and they didn't last that long.
And
They were considered like small people.
Yeah.
Because like you're going to do that to a guy like this.
Oh, you're going to do that to this family who's barely getting by, and
Yeah.
they're paying us all pretty good in cash, and they let us fucking do whatever we want. And like the people that were our friends that went in there and ripped those people off, talk about a grudge. Like, oh, man, like you're dead to this town if you ripped off that place.
I mean, besides already having a neck tattoo, you're dead to us.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you're cut off.
Fucking, you're out. Yeah, there was a couple people that crossed. That's a sacred boundary, because they were just so good to us, but also just let us run fucking wild and like
Management skills, like what I was in 10th grade doing, inventory orders and like talking to salesmen about what products they want to push and like what space we're going to give. It's like, these are not conversations some kid in high school should be having, but like we were awarded that. And like the cleanliness of the cooler, we took a lot of respect of like, or, integrity on that.
Yeah.
I don't know. That kind of, I can't wait to find a job for my kid when he grows up of like, what are you going to do? Like, everything now is like Starbucks or Walmart or something like that. I'm hoping that there's still something.
There'll always be delis, and I really think that's a great job for any. You learn so many things. You learn how to cook. You learn,
But there's not a lot of guys like Jack Toya.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are there to make money. I don't know what Jack's prerogative was. It was not making money.
He was a workaholic, I think.
Yeah.
Like he would sleep 2 hours a night. He couldn't stay away from the place.
Yeah.
It was crazy, but it was a punk rock deli, and like everyone there was in a band or loved bands. We'd all go to shows together. We'd go down to the city. We'd throw shows. Like when we'd have parties, that was like the heart of it. It was just like the closest thing you could get to being a rock star around here was like working at Lou's, because everyone went there for everything. So
everybody just wanted to work like one shift, to say they work at Lou's, have the tab, sit on the bench.
Yeah.
And it was, I remember all of our friends wanted to get a job there after we were there.
Oh,
like you were working there when you were living in Florida. You were just coming for the summer and just work at Lou's.
I would work 6 weeks and make a little bit of money.
Yep.
But get my foot in the door there, and then by the time I moved up here, Jack just let me manage the place. And when you're in control of that schedule, you're in control. Like it's a crazy power to have in this town, because people they'll work as much as you let them work there, or as
and
little.
then when a show comes, everybody wants off.
Oh yeah, people start
when Jesse's having a party, everybody wants off.
Yeah, it's like we're having the second or the third annual pig roast, but everyone that's going to the pig roast works at Lou's, and the requests for the day off start coming in the days after and everything. Yeah, it was really cool. And I think it made us good people. And we're like highlighting all the fucked up shit we did, because like honestly, I'm like 250 episodes into this podcast, and I don't think people really know this side of me. But I want to explain. There was a distinct shift. I think the same. It probably happened for both of us around the same time. Like I became a better person when I met Cass, and I had real love in my life. You became a better person when you met Maria. It happened to coincide with your father dying, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
You were a different person. When your dad got in that accident is when I started to see a major shift, and seeing the person I knew as like just like the sweetest, most caring, amazing person I ever knew. Like I'm like, oh, other people are going to be able to see this now. Like, it's like Clown Town was over. It seemed like, because you had to like rise to the occasion.
Like a crazy what if is if my father passed away when he did, and I had not met Maria. What could have happened?
Well, it could have gotten bad.
Because I didn't know what I had with Maria when that happened, and thankfully she was there, and it accelerated our relationship and my growth.
Yeah.
But I was like kind of in the position. Oh wait, what's that guy? That guy you saw in the parking lot one day is like, first you find the woman, and then he like she'll move your head, and then you'll find like the success. Or
Yeah,
the
we
gold.
thought that guy was full of shit.
And I was like, yeah, like I needed to have Maria in my life, set me on the right trajectory, and then when my father passed away, like I was on a good path already. If I was not on that path, who knows what would have happened to me or my brother Jamie. He has like a very similar story.
Oh yeah,
because he met his significant other at the same time.
Oh man, I should do a podcast with Jamie one day.
Definitely, I would want to be
able to do this.
100%.
We could do it together. We'll just pull stuff out of him.
Well, we'll see if he wants me there, but you know he would.
I might be able to get more.
Well, I don't know. He just started a YouTube channel. You might have to go on his channel.
Yeah, I might have to go on there. Man, Jamie's a whole fucking like. We think we were wild. Like, forget about it.
Yeah, I think that turning point, which when I was 28, was like a whole different shift. So like, you know, the awakening in high school of being just kind of more aware, but then realizing, you know, around your late 20s that with intention, you can really do whatever you want. You don't have to be a product of what's around you. You can, you know, really, you can do whatever you want. And that's a crazy amount of power that you all of a sudden realize you've always had.
Yeah.
It's like, I can eat whatever I want. I can, you know, go study whatever I want. I can read and be educated in these things and live life more intentionally.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Maria and I started doing together. Like, thank God she was ready to take these steps with me. Of, you know, growing up and becoming a real adult, I guess, in some ways.
Well, and that's how you know it's real and it's true love and everything, because like, I mean, look at me. I've had a girlfriend of my like since I'm 16, and none of it like, I guess it kept me a little bit focused, but for the most part, like when you're in abusive relationships with alcohol or whatever, like I wasn't in abusive relationships with women, but I was using them like any other drug, you know what I mean? So it wasn't that like deep, like I want to change my life, I need to be a better person, I actually want to be on this planet, until I met Cass, and you know, she was the thing that turned it around. And then we give a lot of credit to the mushrooms in terms of waking us up to spirituality and those kind of things. But it's just like, you know, it's the process of becoming a man. And I think that's why, like, I can talk about this stuff now, where maybe even 5 years ago I would be like, I don't want people to know that stuff about me or whatever. But I could talk about it now because I'm like, I became a man, you know what I mean? And like, I think people know me now. Like, we're trustworthy people. You know, like, we're somehow upstanding citizens, despite all this fucking craziness. I don't really even know what's to blame for that, you know? Fucking wild, man.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of, you know, you had girlfriends, like you said, you kind of used or what have you, and I was always on this search for a girlfriend most of my younger adult life. And like, looking on it in retrospect, I thought I knew what I was looking for, because I was like trying to emulate my parents, and I wanted to have that sort of love in my life. At no point was I actually able to have a relationship like that, because I had zero understanding of myself.
Yeah.
So how could I possibly offer somebody anything in a relationship?
Yeah.
Like, maybe I can fake it in some way, but it would just be like a very shallow relationship.
Yeah.
And thank God, you know, I didn't end up with anybody that I had pursued, because it would have been a disaster.
Yeah.
And once you're in relationships, from what I've seen, it's very hard to get out of them.
Oh, yeah.
Respectfully, but you know, thankfully with Maria, it was like the perfect timing of like that awakening, you know, her wanting to go on a journey with me, and it's kind of just worked out like it should have.
I mean, it worked out perfectly. I mean, I was scared for you a few times with some of the girls you were bringing around, and I'm like, they're cool and they're fun to party with, but like, is this gonna be Jesse's person? like, can I say something at some point?
And
is this about to be Jesse's person?
To respect to all those people that Sean knows who they all are, like, they probably just need to find their person at their time.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
It just, you know, they're on a journey as well.
Yeah, yeah. But like, to what you said, I say this to young people, like, you know, who are clearly, you know, they're in their mid-20s, but they're looking for something like this. And I just say to them, like, would you want to date you? And like, a lot of times that stops people in their tracks. Would you want to date you? You know? And they think about it for a second. It's like, okay, well, be the person you'd want to date, you know? Like, start like, Start getting those qualities so you can transmute them, so you have something to offer. And like for me, thank God I fucking had filmmaking. Thank God I knew I wanted to be a filmmaker. And then that was not only that it was something hard to do and hard to get noticed for or even do, because it kept me like humble and hungry, and like it brought in some focus at a time I think otherwise I really could have gone off the rails with just partying and women and stuff like that, which I did.
Well, at least if you guys are going to go off the rails at some point, you have some good stories to bring back from it, you know?
Oh man, we've seen so many good shows, like classic, that just I
Sean was telling the story the other day of how you
Oh, man.
lost your glass.
we drive out. We're gonna see Screeching Weasel in Chicago.
Yep.
4 days. Day one, we're seeing that we drove 12 hours. We get there. The second the music starts, crazy pit breaks out. Your glasses fly off. You find them, but it's missing a frame. And I couldn't stop thinking about it the whole show. I was like, what's this weekend about to be? Like, Jesse can't see right now. Like, I know that you're not going to say anything about it, but fuck, that sucks. That fucking sucks. The whole show goes down. Everything's going crazy. We're like, we find each other after the show. Everyone's leaving. And like, I feel something under my foot, and it's the fucking lens of your glasses, and you just pop it back in. Your glasses were fucked up, but like you could see, and I was just like, what the fuck kind of crazy magic. We've had a lot of good times in Chicago in particular.
Yeah.
Weirdly.
Jesse, my first crowd surfing, Jesse threw me up there. I think it was leftover crack or something.
It was a Choking Victim, Bouncing Souls, and Plow United, and no, there was
that
not
at Asbury Park, or
that was at Stone Pony. Yeah,
Stone Pony?
Yeah, we took Cast Down, and remember we used to just rent a hotel room and just party. We would be fucking crazy before we went into the show, and then come and just keep it going for the weekend. But that was Cass's first mosh pit. Choking Victim came on, and we got in there, and like I think that you were already a fan of Choking Victim, so you were bouncing around a little bit, and Jesse just grabbed you and threw you up on top of the crowd. And
it's very exciting.
Yeah. We've had some fucking good times. This was fun.
This was really fun.
Yeah, I feel like we could do 10 more of these.
I know.
And we
so
should.
many things are popping into my head. But
what? Well, let's. If there's anything, let's get it out
this has
now.
been great.
Any classic stories? Anything we forgot? Do you think?
Well, you talked about it earlier, and I think I commented, but you were talking about all your dreamscape around here.
Yeah.
It's interesting because it is similar to mine. And I think of us living far apart, but really you live like
right on the
mountain.
other side of that mountain.
And so a lot of my dreams take place more so closer to your house, like the pit and like the garbage mountain and all these types of things. And
yeah.
I think it serves well for dreaming because the woods, there's just so much variety and it's always a little different.
Yeah.
And so when I look back on these memories, I wonder how many of the memories are accurate or just dreams I had that were similar, because there were some wild things that we did back then, and it really like allowed us to like kind of explore mentally of like what we can physically do.
Yeah.
And like just sliding down mountains, like no adult supervision, like it kind of like heightens your kind of mental capacity almost, like of what's possible and what you can create with your own imagination.
Yeah.
So this place is pretty magical.
And it's crazy. It's crazy that of the three boys that you ended up taking over this house, I'm so glad someone did, and that this is going to be your place. And like, I don't know, the way your life was going, I didn't think you were going to live in New York. I was just like, figured you and Maria were going to settle down in one of these places that where you got set up for work. And then when you were getting married to her and she agreed to move here and you guys were going to take over this place, it's like so perfect. And to know that Leo and the rest of your kids are going to be raised here, it's like, I'm psyched for them. Because, like let's face it, Megan's going to be a better parent than my parents were. You're going to be a better parent. It's like we're just seem like I'm a little more aware of what that even is.
Also, you're older probably than your parents were when
you're
they had you.
Yeah, just
or maybe not when they had you, but when they had you.
Yeah, basically I'm the similar age to my parents when they had me.
Oh, okay.
I'm like a couple of years older or something like that, but probably mentally younger.
How are you loving it so far? Do you have anything to say about fatherhood?
Lots to say. I would say, I was trying to think, because I thought we might talk about this a lot more, and
we could keep going.
I was
Do you want me to put this behind you? Are you hot?
I'm getting a little hot. Here, I can pull it. Because it's interesting, because I want to, at times you guys have like kind of seemed interested in maybe doing this at some point.
Well, for a while we were going to do it with you.
And you still have time. There might be another child coming at some point.
Okay.
But because it's the hardest thing that I've ever done.
You're making it look easy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But it's a mental thing as much as physical. Being a parent and being a good parent, and but it's like the most rewarding. And so I think that's probably true for almost anything. Like the harder things you do, the more rewarding they are, and the more you put into it, the more you get out of it.
Yeah.
And it's just so exciting. Like I just didn't realize how exciting it is of like physically watching something grow and like putting stuff into it, and it grows faster, and I have direct influence on this. And it's like an amazing power. And there's only, they're like, what, you don't know what's going to happen. Like you can read as many books as you want.
Yeah.
And you might try to do something right, and it turns out all wrong. But it's just fun to, like, my mind is of like science and engineering, and I just like to have like a hypothesis of like, this is what I want to try to do, and then when it works, great. Yeah. When it doesn't work, I'm just like, well, that's even better. Like, this kid impresses me every single day, and it's just like so exciting to like, when it's 3 o'clock in the morning and I've had no sleep and I got to go get up with him. Like, is that the worst? That's pretty bad. But like, but I've lived off of no sleep most of my life, so I'm not going to blame him for that.
Is there a way to do parenting and get sleep? Like, because I mean, honestly, that's just like one of the hugest fucking turnoffs. Is like, right?
Sleeping pills?
Well, and when you first had Leo, you guys were like, it's fine. I don't know what anyone's talking about. He sleeps.
Yes. So every parent will tell you that there's great times, and then there's just like a couple bad days, or like some of our friends have kids that just didn't sleep for months.
Yeah.
And it's, for me, I have my own hypothesis about this, about what I think helps him sleep better longer. And Marie and I talk about it. I was like, okay, I think that if we do this routine, it'll result in him going down faster and going down longer. And some people hire professionals. My buddy Roberto was just telling me that he hired a sleep doctor to help with his kids. He's like, it's amazing what these people teach you and teach your children how to get good sleep.
Wow.
Because kids want sleep. They do best with sleep. Yeah. And usually if they're not sleeping, there's something wrong that you need to be there for. So great that they're waking me up to let me help them. But if they are waking up for a different reason, you got to work on it. You got to figure it out. Yeah. And that's like, I was laughing because I was changing his diapers earlier today, and I was like thinking about talking to Sean about this. I was like, I think before having a kid, you think about that being some of the hard stuff, like changing his diapers or like helping him when he falls and he's crying. But like the hardest part is like, that 3 a.m. random day of the week, Maria's out of town or something like that. Ooh. I'm home by myself. Kid's just crying. Ooh. What do you do? And they give you a guide of like what to do. Like step 1, like, is he just need to be comforted? 2, like feed him some milk. 3, maybe change him. But then like if these things don't work, go back to number 1. And it's just like, and it's just like crazy because like, am I ever gonna get out of this? And like I had one night where he was up from like 3 a.m. to like 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. And I was just sitting there with him for 2 to 3 hours.
Standoff.
And I had no idea. Finally got him to sleep. He slept for another 2 hours. He wakes up so excited for the day, and I'm sitting there like dead. And those are like the real challenges. But like I think it makes us both stronger. Like in the end, like okay, like I got through that. What else can he throw at me this time? I can't wait until he's 15 years old to keep me up at night, like my brother did to my mother, of like not calling and not knowing what he's doing. Like,
that's worse.
Oh God.
At least now you know where he is.
Yeah, most of the time.
Yeah.
Cass doesn't know. I just let him get even just further out. I just let him out of the house.
Well, besides that, this will bring it full circle. Besides that, which I think we touched on, what do you think? What can you take from Bob Lubbers? You know, like, what do you want to impart, like, from the way you were raised on Leo?
I think about this a lot, and there's a lot of things my dad did, and I think it was for his own personal benefit, but it benefited us, me and you, of like kicking us out of the house.
Yeah.
He did not want to see me
Yeah.
during the day, most of the days on the weekends.
Yeah.
And he would just kick us out, and
Yeah.
we'd be sitting in the yard, and like there was plenty of stuff to do, and like we were just forced to kind of, and there was no like, hey Jess, we're gonna go play baseball together. Like no, like I would go outside, and there was like a wiffle ball like chewed up by the lawnmower that I would try to hit with a baseball bat, or go into the woods and like find some copper pipe and make something out of it.
Yeah.
But like really pushing me out of my comfort zone and out often with something. And you know, he was not the one that would ever show up to baseball games or all that kind of stuff. So like in some ways, maybe that made me stronger of not needing like kind of outside praise to like get through, you know, be proud of myself or something like that. I don't know. So these are the types of things like I want to be there every moment for my kid. I want to play every game with him, but is that beneficial to him? Probably not.
Yeah.
And you know, the whole idea of independent play, like I'm trying to do it now, like how much fun is it to play with an 18-month-old like in his room with his toys? It's a tremendous amount of fun sometimes. But really I want him to play.
Yeah.
I kind of want to watch it, but like it's even better if I'm not watching it and he's doing something and I hear him laughing in his room. Like that's like a job well done when he's in his room by himself laughing and I don't hear him crying. So I think some of those things of like pushing us out.
It made us more creative. I remember entire days like where we didn't want to stop. We're playing in the sandbox and Jamie's hanging out with us and we're playing with the Star Wars and the He-Man guys and we're making stories and sometimes filming them and like just like having so much fun. Smash Up Derby. We would like, you know, take our Legos and we would have to figure out like how to make the strongest ship because we were going to smash them into each other. I'm pretty sure Jamie was gluing his now that I think about it.
Jamie was definitely gluing his.
Because there was no way, you could never even get one off. Like ours would like, you know, you'd go round after round and like, you know, until your thing couldn't go anymore and that was the winner. But Jamie never even lost any of them. And growing up with like Jamie and Chuck in the background, his best friend, and them being like punks that were a little older than us, and they fucked with us. I remember coming down here. I rode my bike here, and we walked down to Deli. We came back, and my bike was up in that tree.
I remember that.
And I couldn't fucking get it down, and they didn't care. Like it was. I love that. I kind of like they were such dicks.
Yeah.
You know, fucking such dicks. It was great. Yeah, it was really fun. You know what? You know what's a story that I wish we would have weaved it in there, but I still want to hear you tell it. When you almost got the perfect game in bowling.
Oh,
Jesse's and I'm not even trying to blow smoke. Jesse's the best natural bowler I've ever seen. I watch Sunday Bowling on ESPN. They have to have all these balls and this right and the oil pattern. Jesse could take any ball at any alley, any weight, and just stick two fingers in it and whip it in a way that like he just in the pocket. It's hard to do. Bowling's harder than people think. And a perfect game is what, 12 strikes in a row.
13, I thought.
Is it 13?
9 plus 3, 12.
12.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I was up in Oneonta, I think it was, and I just started playing. I think it was there, like having a night of we had watched that. What's that bowling movie that everybody likes?
Kingpin?
No, the other one. Whatever. And they would drink like White Russians.
Oh, Big Lebowski.
Big Lebowski. And so I think we went there. It was like a college, you know, we were just drinking White Russians there. And I was just like picking up any ball that was there and just like trying to see if I can throw strikes. And like Sean said, like 2 fingers, just throw it in there. And I ended up getting 10 strikes in a row. And like, you know, the whole bowling alley starts watching at that point. I'm just a complete jackass when I'm up there. You know, I'm usually wearing, I think at the time I had stolen bowling shoes from another bowling alley, and to cover them up, I had put, you know, leopard print on them.
Oh, fur.
And like my feet were like about 1,000 degrees at that point, you know, and they're in my cargo shorts and like probably wearing my loose deli shirt, like dirty with ham stains on it or whatever. And
there's no set approach. Like Jesse's approach is different every time. He'll go running from sitting down and just throw a strike.
Yeah, and I think like it pisses everybody off that likes or is good at bowling or thinks they're good at bowling. And like all my friends were just like cheering beyond cheering. And then, to get 10 strikes in a row and then, finish with a spare, it was very upsetting.
What'd you get, 298?
No, it's because 298 you have to get 11 in a row.
Oh, okay.
So I got 10 in a row. I think it was a 280 I got.
Dude, man. Yeah. Have you ever gotten a perfect game?
No.
We should work on that.
We should. I haven't bowled in a very long time.
Well, dude, if you ever want to join a league, because like you saw, Cass and I will drive up every Tuesday for darts if you want to do it.
Yeah.
But bowling would be, I think, even more fun, and you can win some money at the end if
Well, because the bowling, the best about the leagues is the games beyond the game. You're playing card games. There's some sort of jackpot.
You're betting.
You get your number called. If you throw a strike on the fifth frame, you get extra money.
Yeah.
It was always a lot of fun.
You come out of there toasted and like with like $60 in your pocket, and you're feeling great. Bowling is the best. I made that movie The Bowler because that's how we grew up. We grew up in bowling alleys around guys, like a million guys like that. And, I just met one of them in the real world, and I was like, you're my guy. But, so many fucking legendary bowling.
I mentioned that to Maria. Maria could not believe that you watched ESPN on the weekend bowling and would know like oil patterns and know the stats of some guy.
Oh yeah.
And like I was like, this is like after college or maybe during college.
After college.
And like we're sitting there, like, we go get a sandwich from Sansada, like, sit there with an Arizona iced tea and, like, intently watch bowling on the weekend.
Yeah,
like,
get really into it. And go bowling ourselves for hours. Like, the bowling alley, I don't know if they loved or hated us. They were just, like, a ragtag group of punks that would come in there, barely spend any money.
There was a thin slice that liked us. Yeah. Like, some of the workers there liked us, and then there was, like, some adults that liked us because they were excited to see young kids get into the game. It's very much an old person sport in most towns, and like we would bring in crowds of people.
Yeah, I know.
And we would get multiple teams. Like one year, I think we had 4 different teams in the league, and like these leagues were suffering to like even stay alive at that time.
Yeah. We brought in some magic, man.
Yeah.
We fucking and our dart teams, forget about it. Like some of the most magical, crazy, and also heartbreaking nights of our lives. You know, playing darts.
It's surprising that you guys are both so good at things, and I wonder if
it's because of each other.
Yeah.
Probably, right?
Definitely because of each other. If I didn't have to compete with anybody, what's the point of trying harder? Yeah. And because, with both darts and bowling, we both pride ourselves in not like, being very formal or very like specific with training and
the
all
guy
that
with the arm guard and the fucking perfect thing,
Yeah, like I like to get like a pair of house darts, like when I go to the bar, like use Sean's or whoever's, and just toss them.
We played the whole season with those woodies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking I have a plaque at the brewery from that season. I was on acid every single fucking week. I think we got ungodly good at Mario Kart. Like ridiculous to the point where at my 40th birthday we had set up my old Nintendo 64 and it has all those time trials on it, and the young bucks, Joey and Seabass.
Oh, how much does Joey owe me?
Joey already owes you $2 and counting. So we said to Joey, go in there and you could spend all night, all week, whatever, playing this. You will never beat the time trial records we've set on there. That's how good we got it. Nobody could beat us at this game. And he's like, yeah, right, I'm so good at this, whatever, I'm going to try. And what did you say you get?
I said, every time you try and you don't do it, you owe me 5 cents. Yeah. But if you ever beat me, I'll give you $20.
100.
Oh, I thought it was 10 cents and $100.
Oh.
Yeah.
Something like
that. He's like, I got this. And then, we went to L.A. for a week, and he stayed at my apartment and just worked on it all week. He didn't beat one record. He's like, I owe Jesse $2. He's like, I'm going to let it build up more before I ever pay him. But yeah, we got so good at that. And honestly, that's why me moving to Florida was a great thing, because I don't think I've played video games since then. I fucking got into art and girls and stuff that my whole life is about now. So, took a break. And then when we came back together, we fucking took over this town. Made a lot of friends, a lot of enemies. You know what I'm proud of? Is you moved back here, and man, was there a lot of weird blood, and you just fucking, nobody has beef with you or anything. You can talk to anyone anywhere, and sometimes I'll go out and I haven't been around in a while and I'm a little skittish, and you're like, oh no, I'm cool with him now. I'm like, what? You know?
There's no time for that shit anymore.
Yeah, I love that about you. I love that you realize that because and I feel the same way. If you're harboring resentment towards somebody, that the joke's on you, really.
Yeah.
It's fucking, and it sucks. But it so flies in the face of the guys we were and who we came up being, and the kind of guys we grew up around, who we all valued grudges. We all valued like these dumb fucking masculine tendencies that don't serve you into life at all. So,
I want to jump back to the Bob Lubbers thing, because I did some more thinking on it while we were talking.
Yeah.
Another really cool thing, and I think you don't have it, but I do, which is, maybe you do have it now, but we were like having to be able to react to whatever's happening, right? And that included a lot of traveling.
Yeah.
So my dad would always travel for work, and sometimes we'd go with him or visit him when he was away. And one hotel room, and there's like 7 of us staying there, and like sleeping on the floor as kids, and or just run right on a weekend. I'm getting tossed at some other kid's house, and I remember sleeping on your bench press you had in your room when you were
God.
because you had hardwood floors, a water bed. I'm not going to sleep in a bed with my cousin here in a water bed. I think I tried to one time, and I fell underneath it. And so I'd I'm sleep on the hardwood floor. You'd think that maybe a parent would come in there and say, we should set up a bed for Jesse.
No,
he's here all the time. But I sleep on a weight set. So I grew up with kind of this I'm fine with any situation type mentality. And it allowed me to go places and stay places that other people would be uncomfortable. We need to go get a hotel or something like that.
That's how I am. I can't how specific I am about my accommodations it's ridiculous. It's not cool.
Yeah, traveling I would go to your house. I don't know if that would pack me clothes or toiletries. I would just wing it wherever I was.
You would just get off the bus at my house on Friday.
Yeah.
And we would drop you back off here on Sunday. I'm pretty sure you didn't have any extra clothes or anything like that.
I don't know how that all worked.
Remember we used to go up with your dad to Buffalo and stay at that hotel and just play pool?
Yeah. I think it was Rochester. It was a Holiday Inn with a glass roof.
Yeah.
And, playing tag and billiards, and Paperboy was the video game there.
Great fucking game. I forgot about that game.
That was a great game.
Yeah. And we got really into pool when I moved to Florida. I had no friends down there, and you just stayed that first summer with me, and we just went to CM's place that we called CM's Palace, and we were the only kids in there by far. Everybody was in their 50s and 60s.
What kind of? It was a billiards hall with a bar, but they also served Mountain Dew and Hot Pockets. Oh, it was perfect. It's how are all kids here?
I know. 5 minutes away. I can't believe they even let us in there. We're 15 years old. And we would just play pool all day on the cheap. And this fucking ancient owner of the place, who was probably in his 80s, would come over and teach us how to play pool. And it was such fucking cool. I'm surprised my parents didn't question what we were doing during this is a huge benefit to our childhood. Just to put a point on that is hard to do nowadays, because you can track everyone everywhere they're going. You can pay such close attention, but our parents almost didn't want to know what we were doing.
Yeah.
Because that's how they came up, and their parents didn't know or couldn't keep track of them, because our moms are one of 9. They didn't want to know, and it afforded us a lot of freedom and creativity, and made us better motherfuckers ultimately.
Yeah. I can't imagine doing that, but I got to get myself in that mindset, because you don't want a kid having to explain to you, or as worst case, they're gonna lie.
Yeah, I know.
And my parents really didn't put me in many positions to lie. I've misled them a few times when I was in high school, but I don't know if I ever bluntly lied to them.
Did they know that you had parties here when they would go out of town?
Yeah, I always left something behind, and they somewhat expected it, but they just wanted the house clean. They would leave the house more of a mess when they left, and it would probably end up being cleaner when they came home.
Yeah.
But I would be stupid and leave the trash at the mailbox, or I would have leftover beers and would what am I gonna do with them? I'm supposed to leave them in the fridge.
Yeah.
But they just never cared, so I didn't feel the need to hide it from them.
Yeah.
They were just worried about their homeowner's insurance and someone getting hurt here,
which they did.
And thankfully, I don't think there was any claims from my parties, but.
I mean, I'll still have that moment where I'm falling asleep at night, and I'll imagine that moment where I was standing up on I jumped off the top of the roof into your pool. I mean, this pool's fucking 5 feet deep.
Yeah, it's deep.
And you have a short roof, which you would always hate it when at the time of the night and a party is people are jumping off the roof into the pool. This is bad news. And then one time, I remember it was pouring rain, and me and Jamie are wasted, and he's like, let's go up on the top one, and we get up there.
Wait, that one?
We jumped from that. Yeah, and it's on a slant, so you have to go running up and out, and you have to...
You don't see the pool until about 2 feet from the
yeah,
jump.
Yeah, and you have to like angle your ass because your ass is hitting the bottom. But that's what you, if anything, that's what you want to hit the bottom. So, but I'll still get jolted awake by like that memory. Like fucking Jesus Christ, that could have ruined my life that night.
Yeah.
Like holy fuck. Yeah.
And that's what alcohol does to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Yeah, man. Well, we'll do this again. We'll have fun, and we'll try to get other family members on here. It's a bit of a self-indulgent one, but I feel like people could take a lot away from this. And if you listen to this, you're a fucking homie. You're in the family now, homie.
Yeah, we got to leave my last name off of the podcast.
Oh,
so
we're just
nobody
gonna say Cousin Jesse.
Cousin Jesse.
Yeah.
Cousin Jesse, yeah.
We don't need...
We didn't even get in. I mean, there's some more damning things that I think...
Oh, there's stuff that I'm like, man, I hope he doesn't bring that up, you know, because I don't want to have to talk about. There's just some things, but you know, you never know. You never know. Maybe it'll come out in due time.
I'm close to retirement. Who knows?
Yeah,
Nothing
yeah.
can be holding it against me now.
Yeah, exactly. All right,
Too
y'all.
fun. Love you
Peace,
guys.
love, and magic.